Family reunions are supposed to bring people closer. Laughter, food, old memories, the illusion that everything's okay even when it's not. This year, ours was hosted at my late parents' estate, the one I'd been maintaining alone since their passing. It was supposed to be a weekend of peace, of forgiveness, of starting over. But from the moment my brother-in-law, Daniel, and his wife walked through the door, I felt something shift. The air thickened. His eyes didn't meet mine, yet they moved, scanning, calculating, like a man looking at something he believed he deserved. I ignored the tension, pretending not to notice the hushed whispers between him and my sister, the way they'd stop talking whenever I entered the room. I smiled. I cooked. I hosted. I wanted to believe that family still meant something. By the time everyone left that Sunday afternoon, I was tired but content. I hugged Daniel goodbye, even when his smirk made me uneasy. But that night, that one night, shattered everything I believed about blood and loyalty. Because when I logged into my bank account, it was empty. Every last cent gone. And when I confronted Daniel, his words still burn in my mind like acid. We needed it more, Evelyn. You'll be fine. You've always been fine. That was the moment something inside me snapped. Please do make sure to subscribe, like and share to support us for more stories. I stared at the blinking zeros on my screen, my fingers trembling over the mouse. I refreshed the page again and again. Maybe it was a glitch. Maybe my eyes were tired. But no matter how many times I clicked, my life savings, my inheritance, my emergency fund were gone. I felt my pulse hammering in my throat as I reached for my phone. My breath came shallow, uneven. Come on, I muttered, dialing my bank. The representative's voice was calm, too calm. Yes, the transfers were authorized under your joint family account. Funds were sent to a Daniel and Clara Matthews. My stomach dropped. What? That account was for my parents' estate, for the maintenance of the house. It appears both names were on the authorization list. The transfers occurred yesterday afternoon. Yesterday, during the reunion, while I was laughing and serving dinner, my brother-in-law had been moving my money, our family's money, right under my nose. When I hung up, I sat there for a long time. The lights flickered in the kitchen, the house eerily quiet. My chest tightened with something between rage and heartbreak. It wasn't just money. It was betrayal, deliberate and cruel. That night, I didn't sleep. I scrolled through messages, call logs, bank records. Every line confirmed the same thing. Daniel and Clara had planned this. And the worst part, they'd done it because they assumed I wouldn't fight back. But they were wrong. The next morning, I drove to their house. Clara opened the door, her face pale when she saw me standing there. Daniel appeared behind her, chewing his breakfast, looking utterly unbothered. "Oh, Evie, you didn't call," he said, leaning casually against the doorway. "I didn't think I'd need to call before asking why you stole my money," I said, voice low, trembling but sharp. He smiled, that same smug smirk from the reunion. "You're overreacting. It's family money. You've been sitting on it for years while we've been struggling." "Struggling?" I repeated. "You just bought a new car last month." He shrugged. "We needed it more. You'll be fine, Evie. You've got the house, the business." "The business I built from scratch," I cut in, stepping closer. "The one that kept Mom and Dad's home running after you all forgot it existed." His smirk faded slightly. Clara fidgeted, avoiding my eyes. "It's done," he said finally. "You're not getting it back." For a moment, the room went silent. I could hear my own heartbeat. Then I smiled. All right, Daniel. Have it your way. I walked out without another word. But as I drove away, I whispered to myself, you'll regret that. Revenge wasn't instant. It never is. It took patience, precision, and a bit of poetic justice. I started small, subtle. I called my lawyer, explained everything, and he confirmed what I'd already suspected. Daniel had committed financial fraud. The estate account was legally tied to my parents' will, with strict conditions about usage, so I let him hang himself deeper. For the next few weeks, I played dumb. I didn't confront them again. I even sent a few texts pretending I was taking time to heal. Meanwhile, I tracked every digital footprint, transfers, property purchases, even the vacation Daniel booked using my money. Then, I set the trap. I organized another family meeting, this time under the pretense of discussing my parents' memorial fund. Daniel and Clara arrived dressed nicely, confident, relaxed. They didn't know I'd invited my lawyer and a representative from the bank. When Daniel sat down, smirking as usual, I slid a folder across the table. Recognize these? I asked. His smirk faltered when he saw the printouts, every illegal transaction, every signature, every message between him and Clara. My lawyer leaned forward. Mr. Matthews, these documents prove that you knowingly misappropriated funds from a protected estate account. That's a felony. Clara's face drained of color. Daniel stammered, Wait, we're family. You wouldn't. I looked him dead in the eye. Family doesn't steal from each other. Then I stood. But don't worry, Daniel. You'll have plenty of time to think about that where you're going. The days after the arrest were strange. Quiet. The kind of quiet that feels earned. Clara eventually came to see me, tears in her eyes, begging me to drop the charges. I couldn't. Not because I wanted revenge anymore, but because I needed closure. I handed her an envelope. Inside were photos of my parents, smiling, proud, kind. Do you remember what Dad always said? I asked softly. He said family isn't who shares your blood. It's who protects it. She nodded, crying. I didn't hate her. I pitied her for letting greed destroy something sacred. Months later, I reopened the estate, this time as a shelter for struggling single women and children. Every room, every repaired wall, felt like reclaiming something stolen, not just money, but peace. When the ribbon-cutting day came, I stood in the garden surrounded by people who actually cared, not for what I had, but for who I was. And as I looked around, I realized something. Daniel was right about one thing. I would be fine, but not because I had money, because I had learned that no betrayal, no matter how deep, could ever steal my strength. That night, as I closed the shelter's doors and locked up, my phone buzzed with a notification from the bank. Funds recovered successfully. I smiled to myself, whispering into the silence. You were wrong, Daniel. I didn't just get it back. I turned it into something better. And for the first time since the reunion, I felt peace. Not the kind that forgets, but the kind that forgives without ever being fooled again.